Good morning, everyone. I'll give everybody a couple of seconds to realize I'm live. Mm. Good morning, and welcome to this morning's edition of the Contractor's Chatter. The Chatter is designed to be that up-level conversation around government contracting. We discuss all things appropriations, legislation, and the upcoming trends that are going on within the government contracting realm. We go beyond the basics of where the contracts are and really delve into what's going on in the arena of government contracting. I am your host, Luciana Turner, as I bring to you this installment of Contractors Chatter. There isn't a whole lot new, well, there's a lot new going on, but without diving into appropriations a whole lot, the committees are set to take up the Defense Budget Act. They want to pass the defense budget, and then they're going to tackle the overarching FY 2022 budget. As we've heard in the news, they have waived the debt ceiling. If you're fiscal conservative, that's bad. If you're one of these, we just have to spend the money to revitalize the economy, you feel it's a good thing. This isn't a political platform. This is an informative platform. And it's up to you as an individual and as a business owner to come to those decisions, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. That is not my job. Excuse me. However, as a government contractor, I understand both sides of the lane. One thing I do want to touch on, let me adjust my camera a little bit. One thing I do want to touch on is the increased spending in the budget focuses on civilian agencies according to what I've seen and according to the forecasts that have been released so far. And to that end, we I want to talk about the rules of engagement. A lot of people think that government contracting is just this one big ball of wax. And while it's true that spending in the government is basically follows basically some of the same protocols, there are some differences when you're spending defense versus civilian. And civilian agencies are any agencies that do not have their link towards national security or obviously defense spending. A sample, working on the Hill, working for the Hill is a civilian agency. And a lot of people skip over those agencies when thinking about appropriations. GAO, the Government Accounting Office, the Government Printing Office. People forget about those. Those are government agencies and they spend quite a few dollars in government contracting. People forget about the Office of Immigration and Refugee. I forget the official name because they've changed it. It's the Office of Immigration and Refugee Asylum or something like that. They spend a great deal of money in government contracting. Department of Education. These are examples of civilian agencies, and they spend a great deal of money in contracting. That's where a lot of your workforce development work comes from. That's where a lot of your, if you're in accounting, your audit work comes from. SEC spends a great deal of money. Your Security and Exchange Commission spends a great deal of money in government contracting. And if you do a lot of R&D work, Um, SEC is an agency that you want to look into. And I think everybody focuses on like DOD, but people forget about equally big organizations. A lot of people think about Veteran Affairs, but you forget about the equally big associations. Everybody thinks about GSA, but you forget about the equally big government agencies. The government there are a lot of agencies. I believe there's 56 government agencies, and each agencies have subdepartments. That's a lot of spending. They just target the ones that you hear about on the news. I mean, that's just easy. Which is why you hear people who are really into this contracting game talk about do your research. Because finding the agency that is right for you isn't as simple as going for who is prominent in the headlines. And even knowing NIH, who within NIH buys your goods, products, and services, and how they procure. You know, a lot of people keep talking about get certified, get certified, get certified. But do you know civilian agencies do not do set asides? So your certifications are no good over there? Just something to think about. Every agency isn't bound by FAR. I'm not saying don't get certified. I'm saying have a structure, have a plan, and know what role certification plays in the plan. And know how to leverage certifications within that plan. But if your sole plan is to get certified because somebody's going to give you something because you're certified, that's not plan, that's insanity. And you're listening to somebody who does not know the industry. Because every agency is not bound by FAR. Therefore, that certification is not applicable. You have to know who is applicable in the who within these agencies that drive procurement who are interested in working with small businesses. Every agency is not small business friendly. I'm hosting a virtual summit that starts November 1st. And I've been doing the recordings for the interviews for it. And I'm telling you, one of my guests talked about that, knowing which agency is small business friendly, which ones have a high rating for small business engagement and which ones don't. Not saying you don't go after the ones that aren't small business friendly, but understanding that your strategy for going after those agencies has to be top notch and subpar. And understanding about being small business, you have to approach them differently. And you have to learn how to talk to them. Because the fact that you are small business is a disadvantage. So you have to hype them up differently. And then going in there talking about I'm certified, they really don't care. Because in their experience, I'm going back in, my training and my conversations. I know a lot of people who feel small businesses rely so much on the fact that they're small and rely so much on certifications that set aside. They've had bad contracting experiences with them. And I hate to say it, but there are companies that rely on their size and set asides to the exclusion of operating in excellence. And that is a reality in the government world. And they want to bemoan and begrudge what happens when they can't get a contract or when they get awarded a contract and they don't reach the ceiling. And they want to act like there's a bias, but the truth of the matter is that you're not performing up to par, and they have to take the time to source another vendor to provide that service. Let's talk about that. These are the conversations people don't want to have because they want to go in with this pie in the sky, rose colored glasses approach. And the truth is, Certifications and set asides are a valuable tool for growth, but you still have to perform. Where are your performance? How are you working on that? What is your growth plan? What is your strategy? And if you can't answer those questions, I say you, one, need to register for my virtual summit. Two, you need to get on my calendar to sit down and hold a conversation and be with me about forming this strategy and then working on those things. Government contracting is not about getting rich quick. It's about providing a much needed service. And as much as people want to bemoan the fact that contractors waste government dollars, contractors provide a service that must be provided. And if you want small government, there's still work that must be done, and it must be done by somebody. So if it isn't done by a contractor, that means the government must hire help, which means big government. If you want small government, that means you must hire a contractor to perform this service. See, people talk, but they don't really understand what they're talking about. And if you're operating within true excellence, we can provide a high quality service with a high return on investment, saving taxpayers dollars and money, because high excellence, high yield, high return on investment. I mean, let's talk about this thing. That is real government contracting. So I want to wrap this session up this morning with a reminder that there are various compliance requirements coming down the pike. If you are a small business or any business looking to do work with DoD, there's the CMMC requirement that you need to look at. And just as a heads up, GSA and Homeland Security are looking to adopt that new requirement, and they will be one of the first to adopt it after DoD. So I would suggest getting on track with seeing what it's like, what is the process, what are the costs for implementing it. I predict by the end of the fiscal year to start Q1 of next year, the entire government is going to be on it, especially with the adoption of zero trust. So get on board with that. We have new FAR clauses that went into effect. And I know I just said every agency isn't bound by FAR. But if you're looking to work with a FAR covered agency, then these FAR clauses are applicable to you. And you should be aware of them and how they affect your business. They do protect small businesses. However, if you're not performing in excellence, they do not protect you from not performing. We want to look at that there are some changes coming down the pike to the bid protest procedure. How does that affect small business? I say watch bid protests, because as you grow, you will learn how the process works. And you may be in a situation where bid protest really does affect you. You will also see how sometimes a bid protest will create an opportunity for small businesses, because the result of a bid protest often is where the result is the contract is broken up and more small business opportunities occur. So I will never tell a small business bid protests don't affect you, because they do. They just affect us differently. And so you should be aware of them. As bid protest process, you can look those up, are available on the GAO website. You can look them up and see what the processes are and the results of those. I want to give, once again, every government contractor should have as a resource a copy of the cost accounting standard. every contractor, once you hit a certain threshold, is CAS covered. And if you're looking to scale and grow in contracting, you should be aware of the cost accounting standards. And you should have a copy of them. I know everybody wants to be digital, but it's kind of hard to read them online and be online. And if you get a copy of them from the government accounting office, and the cost accounting standards haven't changed, they haven't changed much, and they're actually encoded in FAR. But every government contractor should have a copy of them. Every government contractor should have a copy of FAR. You don't know who you're going to do business with. You might end up doing business with a FAR regulated contractor agency. You should have a copy of FAR. If you buy your copy of FAR from the government printing office as a part of the subscription, they will send you every update. They will also send you when there's a FAR change or a FAR recommendation put out there. And anytime changes are made to FAR, they put out for public comment. So you actually have an opportunity to comment on any change made to FAR. And FAR is the Federal Acquisition Regulation. So you actually have a chance to say, I agree with it, I don't. You actually get to see it before it becomes law. So you can say, wait a minute, how's this going to affect my organization, and plan for it. Or if you don't think it's a good thing, you can actually start pounding the pavement and get some traction to get it stopped. But you only can do these things if you are aware of these things, and you only can become aware of these things if you have the subscription. And quite frankly, the last time I looked, the subscription to FAR was only $100 for the whole year. You can't afford $100. So every contractor at minimum should have those two resources in their library. So with that, I invite you to return tomorrow morning. I go live at 8:15 a.m. on Instagram, YouTube, and on my Facebook channel. And we will continue this conversation around government contracting. And with that, you can submit questions to me as well. You can send them as a direct message into my DMs, or you can send them via email at the THELTAND company@gmail.com. You can submit questions, whether you have a topic you want me to cover, or if you just want me to elaborate or clarify something that I've already discussed. You know, sometimes somebody sent me an email about something that I had said that I didn't even realize I wasn't clear about. I don't mind going back and clarifying. So with that, I invite you to join me tomorrow morning as I go live again for another edition of Contractors Chatter. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow morning.